Welcome everyone to DYM Wednesday. I am so glad that you all have chosen to come today. Or you had no choice, or you guys were hungry and food was
we
here.
just forced you to come here.
I was trying
So I am Pastor Dan, and today I am going to be speaking. I know I advertised Savannah last week. I know I'm a victim of false advertising. So, but I will be teaching this week, and Savannah will be coming back in a few weeks to teach. And then actually Pastor Jeff will be teaching next week. Actually, I lied, you're teaching this week, yeah. Now, so today I want to open off with today's verse. So if you have the Bible, open up to 1 Kings chapter 18. And you're going to go down to verse 20.
Ready to turn this down?
A little bit.
What is it again?
First
1
Kings,
Kings
chapter
18, verse 20.
What is that?
I don't know.
All right, actually, wait, we're going to jump down to verse 22 real quick. So, all right, if you're there. First Kings 18. Actually, I'll make it a little bigger on here.
It's 248 in the Bible. In the Bible that we handed out, it's what page?
First Kings, what
248.
chapter, Dan?
1 Kings 18, 22. 18, 22, 36, hey!
18, 22. Makes no sense to me.
No, it's a football thing.
Yeah, I
So,
know.
18, chapter 18, verse 22.
Hey, we're reading about Elijah today. Elijah, I bet you didn't know you're in the Bible.
Huh? I'm also in the Bible.
I'm in the Bible.
Yeah.
Luke is in the Bible. Ruth is in the Bible. I don't think there's a prophet Jeff.
No, but
Yeah,
there's
the big
one,
numbers even.
there's one in this century. Aha.
Oh.
My pages were all.
Oh,
Elijah.
It's Mr. Sacco.
When I
Mr.
got,
Sacco!
when I got to that page, this is what it is. Elijah and then a whole.
Well, you're not in the same Bible.
I know. I'm just telling, like. Smart.
All right, so who wants to start us off? We're off in 22, and we are going to go down to the end of verse 29.
Oh wait, I got it.
All right, do you want to read out loud, Haven?
Yeah.
Read out loud.
So
Read it proud.
22 all the way to 29.
Yes.
Elijah came near to all the people and said, "How long will you hesitate between two opinions? If the Lord is God, follow him. But if Baal, follow him, but the people did not answer him a word." Then Elijah said to his people, "I am alone. I am left a prophet of the Lord. The Baal prophets are 450 men. Now let them give us 2 oxen, and let them choose 1 ox for themselves, and cut it up, and place it on the wood, but put no fire under it. And I will prepare the ox and lay it on the wood, and I will not put a fire under it. Then you call on my name of God, and I will call on the name of the Lord. And God will, who answers by fire, he is the God." And all the people said, "That is a good idea." So Elijah said to the prophet of Baal, "Choose 1 ox for them yourself and prepare it. First, for you are many, and call on the name of your God, but put no fire under it." Then he took the ox which was given them, and they prepared it, and called on the name of the Baal from morning until noon, saying, "O Baal, answer us." But there was no voice, and no one answered. And they leaped about the altar which they made. It came about at noon that Elijah mocked them and said, "Come out with a loud voice, for he is God. Either he accused or gone aside, or is on journey, or perhaps he is asleep and needs to be awakened."
How far do we read?
Till the end of verse 29.
Okay, so they cried with a loud voice and cut themselves according to their custom with the sword and lances, until the blood gushes out on them. When midday was past, they waited until the time of offering and evening sacrifice, but there was no voice. No one answered, and no one paid attention.
All right, so today's message I've entitled. getting God's attention. So here we have in 1 Kings 18, this is the showdown on Mount Carmel. This is one of my favorite Bible stories because what's going on here is that Elijah is a prophet and he believes that he is the only prophet left that worships God and does not worship Baal. And Baal, for those who don't know, is just another name for the devil. Because anyone that is not God is the devil. So remember, it's Baal, Beelzebub, Lucifer. It's all the devil. It's all Satan. So what happens here is they decide that they are going to have a showdown. This is pretty much a showdown to the death. Pretty much if Elijah loses here, then he is going to die. But if the 450 prophets of Baal, again, who is Satan, if they win, or if they can't have God show up, then Elijah gets to put them all to death. So what's going on here is the prophets, they think that they have the numbers game. They have the numbers advantage. So they set this altar to their God, if you will. And the object is the winning God responds in fire. So he gives them pretty much the driest wood and gives them all the advantages. He gives them the most time. It's like you got all day to make your God respond in fire. So it's a dry season. There's a drought going on right now. So like even like an accident could happen and this altar could be consumed by fire. And so they're all shouting, "Oh, Baal, you are so awesome! Come, show your power!" La 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 la, all that kind of stuff. And so they're all shouting and singing and doing all this stuff. And then after a while, Elijah says, maybe your God's on vacation. Maybe he can't hear you.
Maybe he's in the bathroom.
Maybe he's in the bathroom. That's right.
Yeah.
They're like trying to get their God's attention so much that they're even cutting themselves. It mentions over there in the scripture we just read that they were cutting themselves until they're gushing with blood, thinking that would get God's attention. But at the end, nothing happened. And spoiler alert, Elijah, he pours gallons and gallons of water. Now, the significance behind this is that this is a drought. It has not rained for 3 years. And Elijah is having them pour all the rest of the water on his altar, adding fuel to the fire, pardon the pun, that they could easily kill him, like just for that alone, instead of all the water. And then finally, he says, "Okay, God," a fire, a blaze from heaven comes in. He got God's attention, and he put to death 450 prophets of Baal.
And I want to add a little side note to that. You remember the first thing that Pastor Dan said, that they had the numbers advantage? 450 to 1?
Mm-hmm.
But remember this. Whenever it's you and God, you're always the majority.
Amen.
Always.
For sure.
There's never a shortcoming with God. That's what I'm trying to tell you. He's always bigger than anything. It's like, 1 plus infinity, right? So you never get more than you get with God.
So, do you ever feel though, when you're in your Christian walk, maybe you're at school, at home, alone in your room, and you're just like, God, can you even hear me? Do you even, see me? Am I even a name to you? Do you feel like you can't get God's attention, like you're calling God on his cell phone and he's just always clicking ignore, 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 ignore? Like it just doesn't even matter. Maybe you fall into one of these 4 categories. And we're going to talk about each of these 4 categories that you may feel that you go into. First off, God seems not interested in you or your situation. Or maybe you feel like you're a number instead of a person in God's plan. Maybe you feel like your prayers are falling on deaf ears. And lastly, you might feel, well, I don't feel I'm spiritual enough for God to pay attention to me. So let's go into the Word real quick. And if you want to write this down, this situation we're finding is found in John chapter 4. We're not going to read the whole verse. But you may think that God's not interested in your situation. So there is a time after ministry that Jesus was tired and he sat down at a well. And this woman came by. And she was a Samaritan woman. And if you know it, okay, Jesus is a Nazarene. Nazarene they had a very strict set of rules of what they could not do. Like they couldn't cut their hair. There's certain foods they couldn't do.
Yeah.
They couldn't touch dead things. Well, another thing is that it was not appropriate for Nazarenes and Samaritans to mingle, to talk. So it's sort of like it's like a segregation, if you will. If you think we have quote unquote racist and segregation here today, you had nothing back then.
And I want to add a little side note to that, because if you guys don't know what Samaritans are a combination of a Jewish person and a Gentile person. So somewhere in the Jewish lineage, a Jewish person had a child with a Gentile person, and that created a Samaritan.
So, they're kinda
So
like the
Samaritans
outcasts.
were outcasts. They were hated by the Jews. Okay, they were hated by the Jews. So that's the first example that we see of racism ever in the world is Jews and Samaritans.
Can you see Heather? All right. So what happened here is that Jesus, a Nazarene, also the Son of God, a Jew, is approaching this woman. It says, "Woman, can you give me something to drink?" And she knew that he was Jew. She knew that he was Nazarene, and said, "No. I mean, what business do you have with me? Don't you know I'm a Samaritan?" And he said, "It's like, do you know that if you give me water, I'll give you living water?" And she's taken aback by this whole situation, what's going on. And Jesus, is, just being nice to her. So she's like, "Oh, Master." And Jesus said, "Well, go home and tell your husband, what you've heard." And the woman said, I don't have a husband." And she said to her, "You're right, you don't have a husband. In fact, you have 5 husbands." You remember last week when I told you that God gives me the ability to have, read people's mail, so to speak?
Can they let her walk around?
Sorry. So this is what's happening, is that Jesus is reading this Samaritan woman's mail. And so he sees that she's pretty much been an adulterous woman. She's had 5, partners, but none of them have walked the aisle. So, she's like, wow. But Jesus is not, condemning her. He is offering forgiveness. So Jesus met her where she was. And Jesus knew her and her situation. But it didn't matter that she had 5, known 5 men, and is actually working on number 6 at this time. But what mattered is that Jesus saw her where she was, and did not judge her, and she offered salvation. He offered the living water to her. Then you guys don't know what the living water, this is like a symbolism of baptism. That when we're gonna do baptism here next month, like a baptism is a washing away the sins, so that you're no longer judged by the dirt of your flesh. You're judged by the living water, the blood of Jesus. So she was instructed to go and tell her friends. So this is one of the situations. So God's not interested in your situation. I beg to differ. God knows you about your situation. And it doesn't matter if you feel that you're an outcast, or if you feel like you're a loser, if you feel that you're nobody. Well, that was me in high school. Jeff?
I just want to add a little something to that. There's a very common theme out there right now in the world, and maybe it's been there for years and years, but I just want to debunk the myth for a minute. And that myth is that God only helps those who help themselves. That's not true. God helps you because He loves you. He takes pleasure in helping you. He likes doing that more than anything else. He loves helping His kids. So if you're out there and you don't understand why God's not answering or whatever, what you have to remember is He may not answer you right away because He's preparing the best possible solution to whatever problem you're facing.
All right. So now that we've debunked that God's not interested in you and your situation, how about God views me as a number and not a person? I mean, you ever gone to a church? Like, I've gone to a number of mega churches in my life, and it's so easy to feel lost in the crowd. I mean, if you're walking through the fellowship hall or one of the hallways at dismissal, and you're just walking through all these people, and you just feel like this insignificant speck. Like, who am I that God would think of me? Like, there's a song like, you know, friend of God, who am I that you are mindful of me, that you love me?
Excuse me, number 24,455.
Oh no, I'm 25,367.
Oh. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that your number wrong.
So let's talk about this woman right here. So there's a woman out there that was just another number. So if you have, oh, I forgot to put down. I think this is Luke. Okay, Luke chapter 8, 43. All right, Luke 8, 43. And we're going all the way down to 48.
Luke.
Luke chapter 8, 43 through 48. So, I'm going to give you a little preface to this girl here. Now, this woman is a woman who has been sick. She's been sick for 12 years. 12 years with constant bleeding, meaning that she has pretty much had her period for 12 years. And most of you girls here are women, so you can attest to how uncomfortable that would be. She did not stop bleeding for 12 years. She's been to every doctor. She's went to every, healing seminar, every, thing, every option that she knew. Her money is gone. She has nothing left. So, Luke 8, 43 through 48. So, who here can read that out loud for us?
I want to.
Oh, Jess.
43 through 48.
Yes.
All right. Hold on 1 second. I'm getting there. All right. So. All right. Just to find the verse.
Luke 8,
Right.
43.
Now a woman having a flow of blood for 12 years, who had spent all her livelihood on physicians and could not be healed by any, came from behind and touched the border of his garment, and immediately her flow of blood stopped. And Jesus said, "Who touched me?" When all denied it, Peter and those with him said, "Master, the multitudes throng and press you, and you say, 'Who touched me?'" And Jesus said, "Somebody touched me, for I perceived power going out from me."
Oh, the next two verses.
Now when the woman saw that she was not hidden, she came trembling, and falling down before him, she declared to him in the presence of all the people the reason she had touched him and how she was healed. And he said to her, "Daughter, be of good cheer. Your faith has made you well. Go in peace."
Now this is an incredible, story right here. So this woman, again, she was in a crowd. Jesus has been traveling across the city, ministering, and there was a whole following. And she felt like an insignificant speck, that she was just another number. But she knew that there was something about this Jesus, that there was something about this one who heals the sick. She opens the eyes of the blind and raises the dead. That maybe if I can touch the hem of his garment. So just like a little, like right here in this picture right here, that's just like the little string.
See, like on the bottom of my pants, the part that's the yellow right here, the part beneath the yellow where it's hemmed up, that's the part she touched, but only because they didn't wear.
Actually, what this was a prayer shawl that he touched.
That's what I'm saying, but because they didn't really wear pants, they wore tunics.
Yeah.
So a tunic is a long shirt, and then they had a prayer shawl, and so it's not really known for sure which exact part, other than it was the hem, right? So if you touched just the hem of Jesus's garment, she was healed.
So actually on the prayer shawls were written the names of God.
Right.
And actually one of the names is Yahweh Rapha, the God who heals me. So she reached for the name of God in that faith. It was, anyone, there's a lot of people who were touching him. Like, you ever been to like a concert and they come by and give high fives and everything? You know, and you're like hoping like, oh, maybe some of his sweat will rub off on me. No. So like, there's a lot of people like touching him, like, oh Jesus, yay Jesus. A lot of people touched that same Herschel, but she reached for that tassel, that hem, that string, the name of Yahweh Rapha, the God who heals me, and she was healed. And he didn't just go, you know, wait. He knew that people were all around him, but he felt power go out of him. He felt someone's faith activate. He felt that power went out and identified that there was a woman who touched him. And she admitted and said, Master, I touched you. I believed that if I did so that I would be healed. Go, your faith has made you whole. Daughter. She was no longer just a speck. She was accepted into kinship. She was an heir at that point. Daughter. That is identification that you are family. That you are no longer just a member of the congregation. You're no longer in the crowd. That you're in. And it is your faith that makes you whole in that. And that's how you get God's attention right there. Or how about maybe you feel that your prayer are falling on deaf ears. So, in 1 Samuel, there's a woman named Hannah. Hannah prayed day after day. God, give me a son. God, give me a son. I feel so lonely. She was barren. Do you know what barren means? Eli.
Unable to birth.
Unable to conceive a child. So, this woman could not, produce an embryo, could not produce a fetus, and could not give birth. So, she cried to God and said, God, if you would, bless me with a child, bless me with a son, and then I will dedicate him to your service. Once he is weaned, I will take him to the temple and give him to your service. And sure enough, she went to the temple, and the prophet Eli, or the priest Eli, who's the high priest at the time, they were at the tabernacle. The priest Eli heard this and heard what had gone on, and he said, go, and go in peace. The Lord hears your request. So, she conceived a child, and when he was weaned, when he was able to survive apart from his mother, he was dropped off at the temple, at the tabernacle. And wouldn't you know it, Hannah birthed some more children after that. But again, you feel that you're prayers, because she had prayed for years and years and years, God, give me a child. But when you are faithful, when you are dedicated, if you are persistent, God does hear your prayer. But know that your answer is either yes, no, or wait. Gotta be patient. And then maybe you feel that I'm not spiritual enough. And tell me if you heard this one before. Zacchaeus was a wee little man.
The wee little man was he?
So, Zacchaeus.
But he didn't cry wee, wee, wee all the way home.
Zacchaeus was short in stature. He looked up to Napoleon, if you will.
He was a little person.
Yeah.
But weren't they all little at that time?
No, he was even littler than them.
So he's like 1 foot.
There's
Yeah, he
little,
was
there was
pretty-
little people and there was giants.
Yeah.
So anywho,
Normal
the
size
thing
people
is
do.
to add to the fact that he was a short person, he also was a tax collector. And guys, here's the thing is, think about the people that you revile most in this world. Politicians, right?
Yep, 100%.
But tax collectors were Tax collectors were the most reviled people because they would take taxes for everything. Yes, housing tax, breathing tax, lollygagging tax, existing tax.
Sounds like college.
So, he was so bad that he would rip off everyone. He was the master of ripping people's off. But then he heard about this man named Jesus. And he got a little bit of conviction. Like, I'm not good enough for this God. Maybe if I climb up to the top of this tree, maybe Jesus will notice me. And he climbed to the tree, and then as Jesus passed by, all of a sudden he just turned. Hey, Zacchaeus, come on down. I'm coming to your house today. I'm coming to your house today. I'm coming to your house today. But
I forgot about that.
God's attention. Because now, the thing is, I'm talking about Jesus here, but when Jesus is also God, Jesus said, I and the Father am one. And, you know, I could explain the concept of the Trinity to you guys, but it's just to say, Jesus is God, God is Jesus. It's all one and the same. Now, so how do you get God's attention? The first thing is, like the woman at the well, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. Well, you're getting water from the well. You're just living your life. And God will, you know, appear to you when you're doing what you're supposed to do. Also, maybe you're like the woman with the issue of blood. You need to have faith. You need to reach for it. You grab